Hello everybody, it's Kenneth from the Archives here with another video where I dip into our collections and delve into Dundee's past. Today I'm going to be looking at an interesting book we have as part of the Kinnear Local Book Collection, which offers some great views of Dundee as it looked at the start of the 20th century. Now, this book is called Souvenir of Dundee, and it was not produced for general sale. It was actually made to give to members of the Society of Booksellers and Stationers of Scotland, who held their annual meeting in Dundee in June 1904, with a meeting and dinner taking place at the Royal Hotel, and also visits to some of the city's print works and publishers, including the offices of the Dundee Advertiser. The book, as you will see, was produced by the famous Dundee firm Valentine and Sons, who of course were best known for their pictorial postcards, and many of the images you see in here were used as Valentine's postcards. As you'll see from the book plate, the book belonged to Catherine Kinnear. Now, Catherine Kinnear and other members of her family were great bibliophiles who collected books relating to Dundee, Angus, Tayside, Fife and the greater area's history. And we're fortunate that that now forms the core of the Kinnear Local Book Collection, which we're proud to have and look after. The book contains many images. I'm only going to look at a few here. But what's striking is you sometimes get images where you see a lot of familiarity and some that are stark difference of today and some that are a bit in between. Now, this view of the High Street is in the in-between category. There are things we immediately recognise that are still there today. We've got the Clydesdale Bank at the back. We can see the spire of St Paul's Cathedral. But there are things that are not there, because on the right you can see part of the Old Town House. Now that, of course, was completely demolished in 1932, and some of the buildings to the left of that were demolished earlier as part of the redevelopment of this area. Another big contrast is we have got trams. And of course, this was in the early days of Dundee's electric tram network. Dundee had a tram network since the 1870s, though initially horse-drawn, then steam-drawn. But we've got some of these electric trams here. At this point, you can see, although they're double-decker, the top deck is open. And of course, Dundee's trams would eventually disappear in the 1950s. Again, another image where you see some things that are familiar and some things that have changed. So again, we've got the Clydesdale Bank, and on the left of that, we're looking down the Moneygate. Now, most of the buildings you see here are still there, but their purposes have changed. Now, the building close to us on the left there, you can see at the top the giant letters D.M. Brown. And of course, this was D.M. Brown's department store, one of Dundee's major department stores. And just along from that, you can see the letters The Corner, and that's another major department store that was G.L. Wilson. And if you were able to see behind the Clydesdale Bank, which you can't, there was another one there, Smith Brothers, which was also on the corner of Moneygate and Commercial Street. Now, sadly, all these great Dundee department stores have gone. The names have long disappeared. People who lived to the 80s, 90s will remember D.M. Brown's as Arnott's. G.L. Wilson's went away in the 1970s, and Smith Brothers has been gone for a long time as well. And again, we can see a tram here. But if we look down the Moneygate, you can see some familiar things. The buildings at the head have gone, actually. They were demolished when the Wellgate was redeveloped, but you can just about make out the spire of St Andrew's Church. Now, here's an image where not a lot has changed, because this is it's described as Old Tower of Churches. It is, of course, the city churches, St Mary's Church on the right, and we can see the steeple church on the left with the famous old steeple beside it. It's, as I say, this image, there's a lot familiar, but there are things that have changed. So we don't have this grassy area behind the railings in front of the church anymore. And another key sign of change is, well, there's sometimes taxis you would see there today, but at this point it's all horse-drawn coaches. Some other images, not a lot's changed at all. Obviously, the Queen Victoria statue outside what was then the Albert Institute, what's now the McManus, that view hasn't really changed. You could almost take that photograph today. Beneath that, you can see the post office on the corner of Constitution Road and Ward Road. And although that's no longer a post office, you would still recognise the building. On the right's another familiar image looking down Moneygate. Now there has been some change here. The letters Strathdee House, for example, have gone from the roof of the building, which now contains boots. Actually, the building itself has been extensively redeveloped because when the Overgate was getting knocked down in the 60s, most of that building was taken away and it was only really the facade that was left. On the right, you would see, again, the building looks familiar, although this is before the famous Samuel's clock was built. And again, looking down the street, we've got a tram. Now here's an image where you wouldn't recognise anything today, because this is the famous Royal Arch, which stood at the entrance to the docks with the Earl Grey and King William IV docks behind it. Now these docks have long been filled in. The arch was demolished in 1964, so this is an image that has really gone. But it's not surprising that this would be included, because this was very much an iconic image. The arch was very much a symbol associated with Dundee. And here we can see it from the other side, from the docks. And again, this is all gone. The docks were filled in the 1960s to make way for the Tay Road Bridge approaches, and then were redeveloped in the 2010s with the building of the V&A, Slessor Gardens and other developments in this area. So just a brief overview, but you get some idea of how important this is in showing us what Dundee looked like in the past and how much Dundee has changed. I hope you enjoyed that. Take care, and we'll have another video for you soon.